please.
Sorry. Mr. Allen?
Here.
Mr. Brackenridge?
Here.
Mr. Crum?
Here.
Mrs. Proctor? Here. Mrs. West? Here.
Stand for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would you bow with me, please, as we pray? Heavenly Father, we're thankful today. We're thankful, Heavenly Father, for the many blessings we enjoy. We'd ask your continued blessings, Heavenly Father, on Warren Local and each and every member of the district, Heavenly Father. It's in your Son's name that we pray. Amen. Brings us to public participation. Building project update, please, sir.
There's some of these over there, so kind of just to walk you through. Elementary school, we're still, essentially the only things left in the punch list are things that are outside punch list items. So it would include like, there's some playground things, the accessibility ramp, not ramp, pathway will be added at the elementary on the outside. And there's some other just odds and ends on the outside of the elementary school that are still being completed. Over this last couple of work days, we've had a lot of things got done. The last touch-up painting, had blinds added in the art and music room. There's a kind of in the one workroom of the kindergarten, they had a counter and some other stuff installed that was kind of not done at the beginning. So for the most part, the only thing left is the stuff that's gonna happen during spring break, which is the gym floor is a big piece of it. And then actually, it's called drifting, when a drawer doesn't shut, it like drifts open over time. That happens. So they're actually gonna be installing the cabinets. It's the same cabinet company. So the same cabinet company will be installing the cabinets at the high school. So they're gonna come over during spring break and finish that up. I think all of our furniture, there's a couple of pieces of furniture that weren't in, but those should be done too. Our outdoor furniture from a grant is gonna be there on April, I think it was April 1st. We're gonna be getting picnic tables and benches for the outside to finish up the outside. So that's super exciting. At the high school, we're still on target for dates. I feel very comfortable about what Bill from Bart Mello says is the critical path. There were some things that had to be adjusted, but that's on Bart Mello to hit that critical path, and he knows that's on Bart Mello to hit that critical path. So substantial completion of August 1st, we'll be able to move in. I really think there's gonna be a time where we're gonna argue with him to be like, come on, let us in for certain things. At least boxes and things like that. The kitchen is, the inspection for the kitchen by the health department is scheduled right now for the first week in May. So essentially, the first week in May, the kitchen inspection is done by the health department. That means the kitchen is ready to be used. So there's things like that. Now, obviously, we still need the kitchen at the high school at that point, but you know, the transition could be much quicker from certain perspectives. So there's a lot of things like that we're gonna argue, Robin, with the teachers' computers. Like, if the cabinetry's in, and the only thing you're waiting on are the desks and chairs for this room, and you know, this whole second floor, you know, technology is there, you know, the plug-in for the technology is all there. Well, why can't I put the teacher computer? I'm not worried about somebody walking away with it who's building the building. So timeline-wise, we're doing really, really well. I left that, as mentioned in the last community update, the competition, just because that was a really, really good thing that we talked about with the Huddle camera and everything going on with that. We're actually working with a couple of different things as our finishing touches. Express Graphics is a company that we're using for Sid's Walby Elementary School. Also the Hall of Honor, All Ohio, for essentially relocating those to the new high school. That there's a process that's gonna be done for that. They're gonna get new plaques that they're not gonna look like the old plaques, they're gonna look like new plaques. They're gonna be that acrylic where you kind of like see through it with a new picture and like the writing next to it. 11 by 17s, and then we'll be able to go down that wall. All Ohio are also gonna be relocated, again, to different plaques than we currently are, to All Ohio being on one side of the hall and then the other side being Hall of Honor, and then there's a W actually in between. And then on the opposite side of the wall between the choir entrance and Courtney's entrance to band is a wall. That is where all the plaques for the old buildings are going to be located, and there's going to be a backdrop to that as well. So we met with Express Graphics to do that. So there's like some of those finishing touches that when we get to the end of the building project that are fun to do. The barn artist is currently on site, pulled his RV in. I think it's parked around the front of the high school today. He's doing the high school mural in the gym, and then moving over to the commons area afterwards. Did you get to see the picture?
I got one here. As Lisa said, this is the gym
Yep.
picture, and this is the commons area.
Yep. And those are, like, obviously very, very large. So he's starting on those this today. He might be doing it right now, because he said I work at weird hours. Literally. Middle school, they poured footers for me. First pour of the footers was literally today. Super excited. Like I said, Sutherland is during operations, I said Sutherland is hitting on all cylinders. Very happy with that progress. They understand their critical path. Again, they need to have everything completed by August 1st for renovation, and then November 1st for the outside. There's stuff happening during spring break. The electrical upgrade is going to be happening. There's different pieces that are actually happening. They're working right now with Shane at the middle school. Shane has been engaged in that a lot. It's kind of like the Lisa of the middle school in that sense, but even more intense. So Shane is constantly meeting with Chuck, who's our superintendent, just to make sure, hey, we're going to be doing this. Are you okay with that? Let's work out the deadlines. They redid or in the process of doing the windows down in the maintenance area to get ahead of that for the spring break as well. So exploratory things at the middle school are going well. And there's a lot. Like if you walk, I'm sure as you walk, every day you're just looking out the window. I'm surprised. Yeah. But if you go into the gym, you can see everything. Like literally, it's right there. So utilities were really interesting. We're kind of arguing. These guys know this. We're arguing about where the gas meter should be for the. That's what you wanted to bring up?
Yeah, I was having trouble picturing where the door was, and where the meter was going to be located. I just think it's terrible we have to have a meter right by our door. And the gas company, I mean, I understand they have all this control, but we don't want to have something that looks hideous, goes really difficult.
So this is the current. This is finished. All right, so finished campus. There's gas. So gas is the big thing.
Right.
Utilities I've learned that utilities are the worst things in the world to deal with. I've never had to build a house, but I can't imagine what building a house with trying to figure out utilities would be like. But the building project has been awesome to deal with from that perspective. Currently, the gas for the middle school actually comes from this little thing right there, the gas house. So the gas for the middle school actually runs down in between all the buildings, takes a sharp left, goes on this side of building 6, and then runs right down here, and then connects to the middle school. Strange. That's also how the electric gets to the middle school. That's also how our storm comes from. All the storm, like where your rainwater goes from, that's called storm. All the storm does the same. Everything's in the same 10-foot, 20-foot down trench, and that's also where sanitary is as well. Everything just. That's why Richie never wants to dig right in this area, because there's like all that stuff right there. So this line that runs from this gas house is medium to low pressure. For the elementary school, what we did is we connected to the gas line on the opposite side of the street of 339. High pressure line, ran it right along here, came up on the outside of this parking lot, and then shot over to the maintenance, or shot over to like the maintenance room of this. And there's a meter over here. So you, as the owner, we don't own from wherever the gas until the meter. Anything after the meter we own. That's how it is now. So all of the gas for the middle school and the high school comes in this gas house. It's a little brick building, if you, like a little block, looks like a guard tower. So after that, we own the line. We've owned the line the whole time since 1960. So we're used to owning that line. We still are gonna run the gas to building 2 and building 6 probably from this line, okay? Because it exists and it's working just fine. There was a chance that we could backfill building 6, cut it off in between, and then just run this from here to here, and that would be really easy. And use the existing line essentially from here and push it back to building 6. Instead of going one way, it's just gas, it goes the other way. But this high pressure line cannot backfill a low pressure line. They're not sure if that's safe. Probably a good idea not to try. But it's also way too complicated to put a new gas line in because we should have did that at the very beginning, and I still don't know if we would have been able to do it because there's so much going on in that line. The gas meter is supposed to be located right there. Right on the corner, kind of like literally on the underneath right there. And it would have had a little tiny fence around it, and that's also where the generator for the middle school is. So the kind of like the elementary school, there's a generator and the gas meter inside, you don't even notice them, they're just in a fence. It's a great location, it's in the back, nobody would see it. Well, the gas company's being like really crazy about this, because anytime you do what's called a main line, which is the line that goes to that, it has to be all this drawings and stuff. Well, Jen's like, you have already approved this. And they're like, yes, but to get to this main line here, they then bump back out and then come here to feed half of the HVAC in this building. So the new parts of the building will have high pressure. The 2 boilers, essentially, we're getting new ones, but where the old ones exist, will be under this low pressure. They don't cross over. So, that's where they wanted to put it, that's where it was originally approved. It's stubbed up right here in the grass. Well, they're like, we're not going any further than we have to. We don't, like, we're the gas company, we're saying we're not going any further than we have to unless you want to redesign and wait for the redesign. Now, it's free, but the redesign takes 6 months. 3 to 6 months. And our luck, it would be 6 months. So 3 to 6 months. Well, I'm like, we can't have gas and not have the new part of the middle school because then we can't have the middle school finished for 6 months. It's right on the edge of getting it done on November 1st. So it's one of those things where they're talking about the location of the gas meter now being maybe like right there. Now you might be like, well, it's still the back of the building. This star is going to be one of our main entrances to the building. For any after-school event, you will enter the back of the building. I mean, you could enter the front if you want, but if you're going to an event in the gym, you're going to park in this parking lot right here, you know, where those lines are. Then you're gonna walk, there's a walkway going to be here, up this little thing and go in this door. Or you're gonna walk and, like if it's for a basketball game, we've already kind of figured this, or a volleyball game, you're gonna come in right by Courtney's room, right there at the back corner, and then you're right there at the bathrooms. We can put a table up and then you're in the building. And you don't have to come in and then, you know how sometimes you have to like come in and then go backwards to get to the, I hate that, to go to the cafeteria or the bathrooms. That's really annoying for people that go, because then you're constantly like, you go into the gym and then you're like, I'm just going to the concession stand and you have to like, no. So you just have them come in right here by Courtney's back door. You're by the bathroom, you let them in and then they're in the cafeteria and it's great. You shut the doors, they're fine. That means though, every time you walk by this, there's gonna be a gas meter. And these gas meters, it's funny, did you hear, like you said, well, it's pretty small. It's only gonna stick about 4 foot off the thing and be about 4 foot tall and about 5 foot wide. What? That's like the size of a car. Like, here's a car sitting there, and it's all pipes and stuff.
Now you're gonna put a fence around it.
And then you gotta put a fence around it. And I said, is it concrete base? Because I'm nervous about maintenance and stuff. And they're like, well, no, we just have gravel right now. I'm like, no, it's gotta be concrete, and then it's gotta be fenced, and then it has to have a gate on it, because you have to be able to access it. And then they're like, maybe put a windscreen around it or something, because you can't plant flowers around it, or plants, or big tall grass, because you gotta be able to access it. So Shane and Chuck were out here like trying to figure out what to do. They came up with maybe putting it on this corner, actually the band room corner. And just by moving it over, if you're walking, you would never notice it. We could put stuff along the side and it would be a better location. So we're still working that location.
So, It sounds like frankly, the gas company is just making up excuses for not doing it. Or, it sounds like there's one issue with that being high pressure versus low pressure
That doesn't matter to the gas company, that only matters to us.
to us.
Yep, that doesn't matter to them.
Can't you put a pressure reduction device in, as Jen looked at that to?
We've looked at that too, and we could do it for the whole middle school, and maybe abandon this line.
Right.
But building 6 would still be off of low pressure, which is fine too, and they're looking at that right now.
Because the more we get out from under parking lots and
Yep.
areas where we're going to be
Yep.
going, the more utilities we get out from
Yep.
under them. The other part that Kyle and I agreed on, and I think and Bob too, is there's an old water line
Yep.
that they were trying to talk us into not replacing. It's going to run right underneath the
Literally.
fields and the parking
'cause
lots.
What's not shown here are two fields.
Right, right, and it's a 60-some-year-old water line, which they're saying, well, and she said you can run a camera, you can't run a camera down a pressurized water line. You
No.
can run it down a sewer line, but you can't a water line,
No,
so.
you have to vacate the line and then check it, and then by all that time, let's just run it
Well, I
around.
mean, it's probably a 2-inch line, you can't get a camera down it.
Oh, that's, okay, that's probably
I
true.
mean, it's
Yeah.
not gonna be a 4 or 5-inch line, it's gonna be a 2-inch line, and so it's just, I don't know if we can come the other way.
Well, no matter what, it's already stubbed up for this line right here. It comes out of, like, there's a mark, like, if you go back there, you'll see, like, there's one of those
Okay.
flappy things.
Yeah,
So it comes up right here. Their thing is, yeah, we approve this, but we're going to go path of least resistance here. So I'm like, man, what's the differential between these two locations? And then we would only have to run it exteriorly, we'd have to run it from the because we don't have to come into the building there. We can just run it underground to where our hookup, because our hookup isn't gonna change. We're not redesigning. It's going to be in this room. So no matter where the meter ends up, which is where the gas comes out, it might not go directly into the building. It's probably gonna, it'd be like somebody who's on a county road, they have their meter out by the street, and it's just like,
well, you wanna own as deep line as
Yeah.
possible.
Mine's attached to my
gas
house.
line is probably 300 yards long, 400 yards, so
and you own that line then.
I will if I ever have to replace it, so we wanna own as little as possible,
Yeah,
and,
that's the argument right now.
yeah.
And Ken is Ken is livid, because he's just like, we should hold it, and who do you hold accountable? It's like you're talking to this rep and this rep, so we're trying to sort all that out, and now the thing is, we need to get them all on site so they understand where this is all even going. Because truthfully, they're gonna have to cross a whole bunch of utilities themselves, because right now, we're trenching, if you go over there and look, that's how all the storm that is for this, runs to the pond, because the pond is like right here. So the storm, we put in the pond. So the storm right now runs directly across here. Well, all that's being, it's not gonna be under the building, so it's being relocated across here and then coming up and kind of missing the soccer field and then exiting it out on this side instead of being on this side of the pavilion. Well, that storm is gonna be under here. We're picking up sanitary, so that the sanitary that comes out and runs, the sanitary line, like I said, runs all the way down this thing and then runs all the way and then runs like this. Well, that's the main sanitary. Like, we only have one sanitary line for all the complex. All keeps hooking up to that sanitary. I guess it's super deep, a lot of fall. It's all good and everything, but the problem is, right now it goes from the building where the bathrooms are, this backs to the bathrooms and runs straight across and then connects to the sanitary, which makes sense. But now we're gonna run it across and then reconnect right here, so it's being relocated. So when the gas company finally figures out what they're gonna do, they're gonna have to cross all these utilities themselves. So it might be better that they relocate to the back of the band ring,
And which gas company is it we're having trouble
Dominion.
with? Dominion.
which they're way easier to deal with than others, in some ways. AEP is by far the best to deal with. They do what they say, you figure out your local contact, they're super easy, and Lisa would. Then Dominion is like a far second, and then everybody else is just last.
So, where are they proposing to bring that new water line? We obviously want to avoid the ball fields and
Yeah,
the
so
parking lots.
So electric and fiber will run the same way. They kind of come out of this area of this building here, and then come up to building 6 here, like at the back of the choir room, and then bounce over here to the back of the band room, which will then have a hub for, well, electricity will then come into the building, okay, right here. There's actually a switch gear for the building, it's in the mechanical room, and will come into the mechanical room right behind the boys' bathroom in building 6. If you've ever been in the boys' bathroom in building 6, there's this door, and you're like, wonder where that goes. Well, if you open it, it's a mechanical one. So that's where the electrical will come in. And that's where our boilers are. So gas will eventually come in there too. So gas comes down here and then goes across in the front of the building and then comes into the mechanical space. So that will continue to be that way. The gas line and then the electric and everything else will be, depending on where it touches building 2, will then come down and then actually go around the field and then hug the line and then come back through. Domestic water comes in, there's another small room right here that's mechanical as well. Will come in this location, and so there's gas on that side because the gas comes in here and then bounces over to the weight room. So we'll come in this building and then come over here. So that's literally what Jen's team has been working on, is utilities with Bill's team as well, is trying to figure out all the utilities for the north end, and because we're keeping 6 and 2. So that's been very interesting from that perspective. Yeah, I think that's all of them. Sanitary will stay the same. Sanitary is super deep, so we're not worried about sanitary. And storm is super deep. We're not worried about sanitary and storm. Have all been working really well. When they dug up down here through the fall, like during football season, we checked both of those. Beaver backhammered them. They were in good shape. So, and they're really, really deep. So the fall and everything like that is really good. So we're not worried about that. So you essentially have the 6. So that's all 6. Then the other thing, and just real quick on the community update, is there's always something about the other things, the campus work. So we talked extensively at the north end, and then the other thing is the athletic field. That's on the agenda tonight for approval. As soon as that gets done, critical path for that will be done. But tomorrow, he's going to start on all the dates and everything, and literally you're gonna see work on that in May. But maybe as soon as the track people say, well, you guys can start, we're gonna start. But the demolition of the old bleachers, that's even gonna start earlier because we're not having any home track meets this year. They just said, you know what, we're not gonna do any home track meets because we're not gonna worry about it. But we're holding those dates for us because you know how it is, it's very competitive on those dates. And we'll probably add a night relay as well, is the goal as well. And night relays usually happen on Fridays, so that's a good thing, because not everybody can do night relays. And then there's good pictures in here too. There's a really good picture that you might not realize what it is, but there's a lift in the way, and you're like, what is this shiny silver thing? It's on right here of this group. It's actually this picture right here is the freezer and cooler for the kitchen is it. So that's what that is. You know, that's freezer and cooler. Lots of places have had final paint or getting close to final paint. Like I said, the barn the commons area is really coming together. You know, ceiling tile isn't in, only in like certain places, but you know, that's like the last thing you do. But it's close. It's like, if this was the elementary school, we would be having school next week. You know, we would.
Who's all excited?
Oh yeah, and then the new sign's up.
Yeah, well, that's good.
Yeah, so literally Lisa, Vicky, Scott, Robin, and then the athletic guys have been trained to change it. So like if Courtney's like, if you need something on there, just call Lisa. She literally, the program's really cool. Any kind of graphics or anything like that, boom, this can be dropped in right away. You can have multiple things ready to go. Sweet 16 game, I know it didn't turn out the way you wanted, but we actually had a banner to go up that would last for 2 days and then it would come back down or something like that. You know, so they had something. And it can be controlled by your phone if you know how to use it. So it's awesome.
Any questions about the building project?
Congratulations to camping.
Yes, we had a wrestler yesterday that was a state champion.
Awesome, boy. Yeah, I was gonna say Haley Steiner. Haley
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, she was like 3 weeks ago, I think, for her tournament.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Which one got camp?
Peyton Keller
Yeah.
and Haley Snyder.
Haley Snyder.
Yeah, he ended his amazing run of like, I don't even know, like crazy in a row wins.
They've been through a lot with their house fire and all that stuff, but this was a good positive for that family.
Yeah. I'm gonna get you all the stats on that because it's actually really cool on both of those individuals. I mean, Haley's won twice now,
Yeah.
and there's only been 2 state tournaments, so it's kind of cool.
Well, even for Jake and, with Nicole Coleman to go,
Mhm.
just to get to go, is
That's a huge honor.
huge for them.
Any other questions? Renovations, building project? If not, we need a motion for treasurer's business.
So moved.
Second.
Y'all see, did we cover anything, or we
Yeah,
just?
it's pretty much the normal stuff this month.
Okay. Any questions, comments, or concerns about it? If not, we need roll call, please.
Mr. Breckenridge?
Yes.
Mr. Crum?
Yes.
Mrs. Proctor?
Yes.
Mrs. West?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Resolution accepting the amounts and rates to be determined for the commission tax levies. Need a motion, please.
Second.
This is the resolution we do every year. At this time, I met with the budget commission of the county, which consists of the county auditor, county treasurer, and county prosecutor. Went over the numbers, kind of went over our 5-year forecasts and updated them on school finances. So this is the rates that they're setting, and we'll start the budget for our fiscal year
There weren't any drastic
22.
changes, right?
No major changes.
Okay. Questions, concerns, roll call.
Mr. Crum?
Yes.
Mrs. Proctor?
Yes.
Mrs. West?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Breckenridge?
Yes.
Brings us to reading of communications, legislative. Sid, you have anything?
I don't really have anything for you this time.
Okay.
They don't know what they're doing, I don't either.
The budget process has started, so
Yeah.
it'll be,
Okay.
yeah.
Debbie, Career Center.
Career Center started back full-time, today for their last quarter. Numbers are looking pretty good. They recognize that there's a decrease in overall population in the county, so they're not expecting as many students, but the percentage is still, very strong in the county.
Mr. Pop?
Yes, we had a operations committee meeting today. We had the installation of bus garage doors, a new sign at the elementary school, gravelled inside the new batting cage. Storage building was installed at the elementary school, and gravelled the 2 parking lots at the high school. And we're going to need to purchase a 0-degree turning mower for the tighter spaces there at the school this year. Okay, is it?
That's great. Finance?
I don't have too much to report here tonight. There's a couple items on here I think Melcy can cover.
Okay.
Better tonight. And it's basically the project.
Mhm.
So,
We can talk about that when we get there.
Okay.
And we are having a meeting, March
This
31st, finance committee meeting at 2 p.m. I'll be advertising that.
The one item I will mention is that there was an item back here on the agenda about the auditor doing the gap stuff, whereas Melcy's been doing it in the past. Obviously, with all the things going on and the new updates that the auditors all of them had and all this other stuff, it's, behooves us to,
I'm actually giving something up.
I've told her to do this for every year. She finally
I
said,
know, she always says, I like doing it. Okay.
I'm very proud of myself for giving it up. This is a big step for me. No, I mean, it's become, a huge, it's always been a big project. With everything going on right now, I feel like I need to give
Short
that
people,
stuff my
yeah.
attention more.
Yeah.
Especially, we're gonna be starting, our conversion of our revenue accounting system April 1st, which is very exciting. So that'll still be going on when I would need to be doing the gap reporting, so I'm giving it up.
Sounds
For
good.
at least a year. We'll see what the next year brings.
Policy committee.
We have a meeting after
Tonight.
that, board meeting tonight.
Okay. We
should
did
be
not-
sure we only have 3.
Yep, yeah, it should be short.
And we did not have learning instruction assessment. So brings us to superintendent's business. I need a motion, please.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Debbie West.
I have one normal item. It's a donation. Lynn Yost, had these donated, really nice. There's a picture in the, in like the thing that we sent home to all box holders, there's kids holding them, so
Great, cool.
he's a great, sponsor to the district and works really hard with the Career Center, with us, he sits on multiple committees, so he's just really good to us.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Proctor?
Yes.
Mrs. West?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Breckenridge?
Yes.
Mr. Crum?
Yes. The resolution, need a motion for the resolution to accept the turf installation and athletic stadium improvements.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Questions? Roll call, please.
Yes.
Yeah,
I think
we,
you can-
so, you know, we did sit down, just briefly and review. The price that's in here is the maximum price.
Yep.
As we go through and it starts getting bid out and everything, we'll have, a better idea of the actual cost, but it will not exceed this amount. This does, get us to pretty much our limit on our LFI, dollars, so I just kinda wanted to say publicly that, you know, the next project we have, which is Building 6 still, probably our office, central office, we've always said that's the last thing, to be done. So we'll see after we haven't closed out any of the project yet, except for the middle school roof. So we don't know.
Middle school roof.
Yeah, which was,
Everything
which
that's
was
got-
minor. So as we start closing out the projects, we know there's contingency dollars that we're fighting to get back to us, site safety dollars to come back to us. So we'll have a better idea coming up where we'll be able to be in doing those office renovations, but just kinda give that, you know, that warning, this is a big number, this is the maximum number, we're hoping, once it's bid, it's actually a lesser, dollar amount, but it's kinda, we're still reviewing it, we'll review it, pretty in-depth at the meeting as well, at the finance committee meeting.
And this will be a fast moving, this will be we'll close this out almost probably before we close out
Yeah,
other projects,
yeah.
which is weird, because it'll be so fast moving.
There's so many pots, you know, with the building project, between, you know, the different buildings, LFI, local dollars, interest, site safety, so there's a lot of reconciling going on. Hopefully we'll get it all done, in all of our lifetime. No, we're optimistic that'll happen, but I just want to say, you know, we're taking it one step at a time, one segment at a time, one project at a time.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Any other questions,
This summer.
concerns? Need a roll call, please.
Mrs. West?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Breckenridge?
Yes.
Mr. Crum?
Yes.
Mrs. Proctor?
Yes.
Policy update, to rescind obstacle policies. Need a motion, please.
Make a motion. One second.
Okay, this has never happened before. So
They
this,
never take them out.
yeah, this is one of those things where we just learned that we could do it this way, which is kind of cool.
That's cool.
You literally just vote one time and then they're gone.
Yeah.
So, obviously, the first batch is all from the relief package, because that law was very finite in its length. We had to do policies, and then now we have to take them away. So, and then I was like, you know what, if we're taking policies away, let's look for some other ones. And right away, I thought about the intra-district, because every year I have to say, there's lots of things that we have to do where there's a system where I have to like, say that we're doing something that the law makes us do, and like, kind of like put my hand in the Bible and swear that I'm doing it through ODE. And I'm like, we're not doing that anymore. So I'm like, let's take the policy out, because you have to like verify that you have the policy, but then it's like we don't follow the policy because we don't have that, you know, we don't have that need. So I was like, well, take it out, and I don't have to, I can answer that question correctly. So this will be a new thing as I go through and kind of scrub the policy manual to do.
Good. Questions? Roll call, please.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Breckenridge?
Yes.
Mr. Crum?
Yes.
Mrs. Proctor?
Yes.
Mrs. West?
Yes.
Need a motion, please, for personnel issues.
So moved.
Second.
Pretty much self-explanatory. Questions, concerns? No? Roll call,
Mr. Breckenridge?
Yes.
Mr. Crum? Mrs. Proctor?
Yes.
Mrs. West?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Any communication from any board member? Like to share anything, say anything? If not, then I need a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of discussing contracts as well as some other issues, possible litigation. All that first.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Crum?
Yes.
Mrs. Proctor?
Yes.
Mrs. West?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Breckenridge?
Yes.
6:37.
There will be business conducted, possible business conducted after the session. So, an amendment to, look at superintendent and treasurer contracts.
And then we obviously have policy committee after that too, so if you really want to get on the policy